Hi everyone, so thanks for joining us today. So the webinar this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you're at, is about our latest release of Metric Insights 5.5, and we're going to be focusing on what the new features are in that particular release. So some housekeeping items before we start. So I'm Mike Smitherman. I've also got Louis Bedard on the phone, our head of technical sales. The lines are muted, but we tend to keep these webinars fairly informal. If there's questions that you have as we're going through the content, feel free to type those into the chat or the Q&A window, and typically we'll answer those as they come in. We'll also leave some time at the end if there's questions after we've been through everything, but feel free to jump in as we're going through the different features. The webinar is being recorded, so we post all these things on our blog, but we'll send out the link as well to everyone who's attending today. And just in terms of the agenda, so we've got a combination of customers and prospects on the line here. We are going to be focusing on really the new features in the latest release. There's other webinars up on the blog which cover sort of our core functionality. So for those that are new to Metric Insights, I encourage you to go and check those out as well. So simple agenda. I'll give you a quick overview of the release, but we're going to spend the bulk of the time showing you the product with Louis and talking you through the different areas. So slide light this morning, but you know, again, we'll focus on the demo and ask the questions as we go through it. So just to tee this up again, as there are some people on the line who perhaps haven't seen or used the product before. As we look at our platform, again, we're all about trying to engage users with data across the organization, regardless of where that data may exist, operational systems, databases, BI tools. And we really segment our functionality, if you like, into three areas. So the ability to organize content and make it available to your users, the ability to enrich content by automatically uncovering exceptions or anomalies, and the ability to distribute content. So whenever we're doing releases, we're really looking at these three areas and how we can enhance functionality in each of these areas. And so for this latest release, there's really three pieces that we're going to look at. The first is around reporting, and for those that have used the platform in the past, you know that we have some basic reporting, and essentially we've overhauled that in this 5.5 release. We're going to look at our collaboration integrations with Slack and the most recent one, Teams, Microsoft Teams. And we're going to delve into something that we sort of released initially in a previous version, but have enhanced around portal pages and other ways of curating content for users. So they're the three themes, easy for me to say. And the first one that we're going to look at is the overhaul of the reporting engine in Metric Insights. And really how this came about is, you know, as I'm sure a lot of organizations like yourselves have, you know, there's a lot of content in your BI tools that you're making available to users, but oftentimes there's this desire as well to just be able to create very quickly simple reports that you want to have alongside your dashboards and reports from your other tools. And so we've always had some basic reporting in the platform, but as you're going to see, we've really overhauled that and made it much easier and quicker to create some standard reporting that you can push out to users. So we'll look at sort of the ground up, how do you get data available for reports, look at the report design and some of the features and interactivity that we have. So I'm going to hand over to Louis, and he's going to sort of step you through some of these areas, and we'll go from there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mike. Okay, let's switch our view now. Take a look at the Metric Insights platform. So right now, what you should be looking at is the homepage of Metric Insights. Like I said, like Mike said, today is going to be a little bit of a different type of demo for us. So I'm not going to go through all the different elements that we have in the platform, but as you guys are well aware, We have the ability to create metrics or KPIs, as you're seeing here. We do have the ability to connect to any business intelligence tools and offer kind of a portal approach, meaning a quick link approach to all your favorite dashboards, no matter what platform they're from. And so we're showcasing the different platforms that Metric Insights has the ability to connect to. And here at the bottom of the screen, really different types of exception report. We'll be creating them today together. So we'll take a look at that. And as you guys know, also have the ability to create tiles or objects that brings up to other places on the web and so on. So in regards of what we're really talking about today, we just want to focus our attention to show you, this is our new reporting features, multi-object report here. The idea was just to show you that the platform now, the ability intrinsically to create any types of reports like this one here that contains multiple different types of objects. So we'll spend some time taking a look at this type of reports and so on, and how do we bring them in via the v5.5 platform today. So the best way to go about creating and showing you those reports is really to start where it all starts, right? Getting our data together into a data set. So what we're looking at right now is what we call our dataset viewer. In this particular example, what we've done is we have snapshotted about 9 months worth of data that we're bringing into the Metric Insights platform. So you can see all of your data each and every day. And so Metric Insights, obviously, we have the ability to snapshot a complete sets of data from any underlying data sources. In the example that we're looking at right now, I loaded this data from my BI dashboard because my BI dashboard was refreshed every day with new data, and there was no way to go back in time and take a look at what happened, let's say 2-3 months ago and so on. So the ability for us to snapshot this data and bring it in and give us a summary of all of this in the dataset viewer is a nice way for us to get started. I see we have some conversation in the chat line, so
That's all right.
We'll get to those later. Fantastic. So in the case here, before I get started, just wanted to show you the lay of the land here. So this pretty much are the different fields that are available to us here. As you can see, they're showcased here at the bottom of the screen. So we have our different types of rows that we see. In this case, we're looking at about 2,000 rows worth of data. And then this is an area where we'll be creating rows and so on with the application. And once we've done all of this and we like the information that we have, we can quickly go ahead and build a metric, build a report, and build other types of objects within the platform as well. So the first thing that I'd like to do, Mike has talked about creating exception and change report. The first one that I'd like to do is create an exception view, an exception report, where I would love to take a look at my sales by product subcategory. And I want to find out if there's any area inside of these 2,000 lines of data here that where my cost of my sales by product subcategory is greater than the sum of my sales. So how can we go about creating something like that? In this case here, I'm interested in looking at the data at the subcategory level. And what I would like to see here is really take a look at the sum of my sales. So I'll select my sales, I'll do the sum of my sales. Can add a couple of other KPIs here as well, some of my costs and some of my units. Fantastic. So I have all of these here. And what I'd like to look at is for any particular subcategory here, I'd like to find out where my sales are greater than 25,000. So as I'm applying my aggregation here, I can apply those changes. And now we can see that we went up from 2,000 rows of data to about 400 rows of data. At this point, I would love to focus on only large amount of sales. So what I'd like to look at is where my sales, some of my sales are actually greater than, let's say, a particular value. In this case, I'll put 25,000. If I can type 25,000, there we go. Apply these changes. And now I have all of this data. So now I know that for all the large amount of data across my country, channel, product category, and subcategory, I can see that, where some of my sales are there and cost. And then the next thing I'd like to do is say, okay, is there any occasions where sometimes the sum of my sales is actually less than the cost of this particular product by any value? So when I apply those changes there we go. So now we're getting a resulting data set that comes up to about 20 lines that shows us where the cost of my sales have been greater than the sum of my sales. Fantastic. So let's say now you'd like to go ahead and build a quick report from that. It's very much as simple as really going ahead and say, I want to build a quick report. It will ask me to save my view. So I'll say cost greater than sales. Sales, save this up, and now now we're being brought into the Metric Insights report editor. We'll spend a lot of time here in the next report I'll be creating, but in the case of this particular report here, let's say we like what we see, we just want to go ahead and publish it. I can just go ahead and view this particular report here, and there we go. As quickly as creating those rules that we did into this dataset viewer and being able to see this report. And remember, we had this data that was snapshotted daily, so I can go back in time and then take a look at, oh, any other particular day where this particular occasion happened. And there we go. So that is the first report that we do, is this exception report. Okay, moving along. The second report that I would like to do here is creating kind of a change report. So when I was looking at the dataset viewer earlier, we're looking at one single instance of data that is snapshotted daily. But the beauty about having instances that are sequential instances like this is you have the ability to compare one instance to the previous one. So what we'll do now is we'll take a look at the last two instances of our data. And what I'm interested in finding out is are there any sum of my product sales, where I sell, let's say, over $10,000, that we sold today that did not sell yesterday? So in this case here, I want to take a look at if I have any new sales or removed sales for a few selected fields. And I will select my fields here, country, and in this case, I'm interested in particularly in sales, the sum of my sales. So there we go. We'll take a look at that. I want to track, like I said, the changes for my new and removed item. And here, similarly, I can go ahead and create additional filters as well. So in this case here, I would like to add my first filter where my sum of my sales is greater than a value. So we'll put $10,000 and apply these changes. And there we go. At the bottom of the screen, very quickly, we saw the result set that came back. Let's take a look at it in a quick second here. So now we have our country, channels. Let's reorder those: a product category, product subcategory, and product. Here, there we go. If I can work, there we go. And then we see prior sum of our sales is empty, some of our sales is new. So these are the new items that were sold today that were not sold yesterday. And vice versa, we have now the other items that were sold yesterday but not sold today. So that looks pretty good. So why don't we save this as a view and start building a report with this. So this view, I would like to name it new and removed products. And I will make it visible to my entire public so other people can take this particular view that we're storing here and be able to create any sets of reports into this. So that's a nice thing. So now when we're creating those rules, just to be very clear about this, when you're creating some rules and complex types of rules that you want to create, you can save this as a view. And now after that, based on this particular data set, you have a bunch of views that you can go ahead and reuse. So now we like this view. I'd like to go ahead and build a report for this particular view. So now I'll spend a little bit more time in our report viewer to show you what are the things that we can do in this particular report to pretty it up and to make it actually actionable and being able to use. So when we're presenting here with the data, we're always presented our data in a table. So the first thing I'd like to do is create a table with two particular sections. So I'll filter this particular table when I'm only looking at my new product. So I'll focus this where my change types exactly match a value of new, and then applying this. So now our resulting set has been filtered down with the new products here. So I'll close our filter for this particular table, and now I'd like to go ahead and edit this table to to show it the way I'd like to show it. So for this, I can add a different type of section and grouping to this report. First thing I'd like to do is maybe move my change type into a section to put the name of the section on top. And we'll regroup that by country and by channel. Okay, so section, my grouping, and these are the orders of my columns. I'd like maybe have product category, subcategory, and product orders the right way. Because these are my new sales, I do not need to take a look at prior sum of sales. I can click on this and hide it, or I'll do it another way to show you that. And the sort order has been done. And one thing I'd like to do, these are my new product sales. So what I'd like to do is conditional formatting, where I say, okay, show me where my sum of sales is actually greater than a particular value. In this case, I'll put $15,000. I just highlight them in green just to show these are positive new items that we didn't sell yesterday that we're selling. So that's a positive thing. So let's take a look at this way. And we can even add a grand total at the bottom of that particular table here. So let's apply that, see how that looks. Okay, much nicer report already. So now we have a country, channel, product, category, and product, prior sum of sales, and this sales. So now I'm looking at this. I actually don't want this particular column here, so I can go ahead and hide it. I will hide this column. You're noticing the different types of options that we have. Not going to go through one by one, but just want to show you that we have those here. So I don't want to show that. And then just want to, adjust my columns and so on, any type of things that you would expect from any types of typical writer today, report writer today. So there we go. So now we created this first table. We like it. It has our new, our new products. So now that we have this table, why don't we minimize it so I can add a second table for my remove product. So similar principle here. I'm adding the table. I'm going to add my sections and my grouping. My section, I want to put the same type of things. I want to put my change type. I'll put my country and my channels and my groups. I like to have my conditional formatting. Now these are the product that has been removed. So what I want to do is where my prior sum of sales is actually greater than, let's say, 15,000, because we're not selling them today, let's highlight them in red instead. So there we go. They're highlighted in red for this entire row. Click on done. Let's add a grand total to this one as well. And there we go. So we can even order this correctly here, category, subcategory, and product. Applying this. Now it gives us a similar types of report. The only difference is now we have not yet, we have not created this filter for this particular table. So what I'll do is a similar filter as I added for the other one, but in this case here, I'm interested in the change types where product has been removed. So I'm going to apply that. And now we're only seeing our sum of sales. That looks fantastic. We're seeing our data with our conditional formatting attached to it. I will remove the sum of sales because it doesn't make sense in this particular report. And there we go. Now we have a nicely formatted report that, pretty simple, easy to use, easy to construct with, with the information that we have. So now we have our first table on top. We have a remove table here. Let's minimize this one. Let's add a new element to this report now. What if I'd like to see those into a map, this data inside of a map? How easy is that? So what I'll do here is I want to choose the map of the world. I'm interested in taking a look at my country location. I just want to see the sum of my sales across different locations here. You can change the color range and so on, pixel, the size and so on, applying all this. And now what we're looking at is the sum of sales, for this particular exception that we see around the world. Wonderful. The last thing that I will add to this particular report here is a bar chart, any types of line bar chart. So in this example, would be interested in tapping along the sum of my prior sum of sales by country. So now we'll be able to take a look at this by country. And as we can do with our tables, you're about to see this in a second, you also have the ability with the charts to be able to drill to another report. So in this example here, the report that I would like to connect to is a subcategory level report. Well, I'll be able to drill down from my category to my subcategory. You'll be able to click on done, approving all this, and now you have this particular bar chart that has been created there. So there we go. We have our 4 elements that we created for our report, our bar chart, our map, and our 2 tables, both for removed and for new. Now that we have done that, the last thing I'd like to create is perhaps global filter for my page as well. So why don't we add a country filter to this page and also add the change type for the page as well. So now we have our 2 filters, global filters, bring them applying this, and now you see our 2 filters applied to the top. So I think I like what I'm seeing. Let's say I like this particular report that shows my new, my removed, and my visual. So let's go ahead and view this particular report now. And there we go. With just a few click of the drop, you have your two tables that we created together there, against with the map and the bar chart. Now, if I go ahead and play with any of my filters here, want to see what's going on in Canada, well, obviously it will narrow it down, apply it down, and only show us the data for Canada and so on. Any location would create. Same thing for the change type. I can only focus on my remove type here. My empty table, obviously we don't have any data here. We have our data there and our charts down below. So very, very easy to apply those filters to this report. In terms of formatting, obviously a big overhaul, as Mike was talking about before. And that's it for this particular report. Now, scrolling down, if you remember at the when I looked at this bar chart, I attached those bar chart to this particular subcategory report. So now if I'm hovering over this, I can go ahead and click into my subcategory level report. And we're looking at Russia type data, so that should bring us to this subcategory report for Russia, right? So we're passing along the filter information to bring us right here. So that is this particular change report that we have created there. Sounds good, Mike?
Yep.
Okay, so now let's go ahead and try to create another report. We'll actually go back to the other report here, but before going to this, I would like to create an exception report based on data that we extracted from this Tableau dashboard. So if you give me a few seconds here, let's take a look at this particular dashboard. This one comes from Tableau, could have been any of those BI tools. You know, the story remains the same. This is a daily snapshotted dashboard. This dashboard is taking data daily and just showing us our sales and performance of our products across multiple different country, channels, product category, and so on. As you know, we have a lot of different countries in our demo data here, with a lot of different channels, product category, and so on. Going through the permutation of all those different filters is really hard to do, and it's not necessarily easy. So if you want to ask a question, as an example, looking at this dashboard, is there any areas where my sales have gone down more than 50% compared to my previous, compared to the previous day? So comparing two instances of my data, say, is there any product category where my sales went down more than 50%? It's not nearly impossible to figure this out looking at this Tableau dashboard. So one thing that we can do here is take the view, and you'll see this in another particular view here that I created just before. So same principle again. I was comparing two instances of data, and now what I'm interested in finding is a change. So we talked before about new and remove. Now I'm focusing on the change, and what I want to see here is there any sum of my total sales amount that is less than the prior sum of my total sales amount by at least 50%. And as you can see here, it created this list of 6 elements of country, channels, and product category where this particular exception happens. So now the ask is, can we see this data in context of your Tableau dashboard? Of course, the answer is yes. So let's take a look at this. What I'd like to do here is to go ahead and build a new report based on this particular data. So again, as I'm clicking on getting my new report, we're presenting with the report viewer. Now I'm not going to change any formatting options. You just saw that we can do that. Last thing that I would like to do right now is actually to add a visual. This particular Tableau dashboard we just looked at before. I'm going to drag and drop it here into this element. So now I can choose any external visualization that I have available to me. And in this case here, this Tableau dashboard, I believe, is called Sales Analysis. If I can find it, Tableau Sales Analysis. So I'll select this particular dashboard. And you see what just happened here is now I can map the columns that I have here to the columns of the filters that I have in my Tableau dashboard. So I'll map country to the filter country in Tableau. I'll add my my channels here to my channels inside of this this dashboard as well, and product category to product category. So that's pretty much as simple as that. And applying this here now, what you're seeing is now that the system automatically created hyperlinks to the Tableau dashboard down below. So if I go ahead and save and want to view this particular report now, here's what's going on. You're looking at an exception report that is focusing on where this particular exception is happening, And we're showing you this in context in your Tableau dashboard. So now you're looking at your Tableau dashboard in context of your exception. And if I select any of these links, let's see here, Germany, website visit, wine furniture, I will select this particular filter. That filter is passed along, Germany, website visit, wine furniture, it's passed along to Tableau to show you, once again, your dashboard in context.
Right, so we got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump in. So one came in very early, and it was just about the elements on the home page and essentially what our external reports are. So the URL links to reports from Click, Salesforce, etc. Do you just want to talk about external reports very quickly?
Absolutely. So this is what we call external reports, or for us, giving us a point to connect to these particular dashboard is what the system does. So we can connect to any of these types of different dashboard. If I want to have open this particular Tableau dashboard here, that's really all I need to do is click on this tile, and now you're seeing your particular dashboard in context here in the application.
So yeah, it's providing a link through to that live underlying BI dashboard. We also capture an image of what that dashboard looks like, which is what you're previewing on the tile there, and it's also what you can attach to emails. It's an accurate representation of what the dashboard looked like the last time it updated. Another question, I think, around the change reports and exceptions, whether it can be done in real-time data or only on a given time measurement. We're not doing streaming data right now, i.e., real time. You can look at snapshots on sort of an hourly, daily, weekly basis. As you say, we have some customers who are actually doing minute metrics in the solution, where for a few key metrics, they may be updating on a minute-by-minute basis, but we're not doing streaming real time.
Fantastic. Okay, and other objects report real quick, Mike. I think we touched on that before. So you saw different types of objects we can do in this report. Another one that I find interesting, I wanted to touch upon before we start discussing collaboration, is you saw me drill down a previous report from a chart that brought me to a different report. Those links are also available to be done via reports like this one. So in this case here, category level report, I want to see my sales and to all these different categories. If I'm interested in finding out, let's say Spain, my sales of wine in Spain, I can click on this particular report, which brings me to a different subcategory level report where now you have Spain, wine, and your different subcategories of wine sales and so on. I can see that. And if I want to see how much red wine we sold in Spain on this particular day here, can continue to drill down, and that brings me to the next level of aggregation and so on. So that's it, Mike, for the reporting. A lot to talk about here, but let's jump to collaboration.
Yeah, so I guess in summary, so we've, as you can hopefully see, the designer around the reports has been totally overhauled. As you drill into that in more detail, you'll see we've got lots of much more flexibility in terms of chart types and easily being able to tie those up to your data sets and data set views that Louis showed you. So I think much more, much easier to create and much more useful as you look at your data. So let's move on onto the collaboration aspect. So again, for those that are using the product today or that have been following our webinars over the past couple of months, you'll know that we did an initial release of an integration with Slack. That allows essentially, and we'll look at this in the demo, allows people to basically start querying what's in the portal through the Slack application. And you'll see you can ask questions, show me everything related to sales, and it will suggest up content, etc. We've added some features to that, and we're going to look at those. So the ability to do things like now send bursts from the product. So you'll know today you can burst content to email. You can now burst content through the UI to Slack. We're going to take a look at that and how that works. We've also released an integration that's currently in beta, but with Microsoft Teams that has the same similar functionality that we have in Slack and that we're going to look at now. So just in terms of the product and the release, the Slack is generally available. If you use it in your organization, I encourage you to reach out. We can help you get that installed if you want to try it out. Teams is in beta right now. If you are a Microsoft Teams customer, and again, you want to try that out, please reach out to us. We're looking for people to try it and give us feedback on it. But Louis, why don't we jump in and look at some of the capabilities again? And again, the new stuff within the 5.5 release is the bursting to Slack.
Great idea. Fantastic. So, okay. So what I'd like to do here, we'll go back to the home page, and actually the next thing I want to do is actually create a burst. So the first thing we'll do is create literally this burst to Slack. So this is our demo burst to Slack, so now we are creating a new burst. So when we're creating a new burst, the idea is we can send it multiple different locations. So what I'm doing here is I'm building my burst. I can select different types of content that I have available to me. You can select individual tiles, dashboard report, and so on that you saw on our homepage to bring this here. You can bring the content of our folder or your favorite folders. Now, I pre-created this particular folder for our demo today, so take a look at this daily sales KPI. This is the folder I want to select. It's made out of 6 different tiles, some reports and dashboards and metrics. Anyway, you'll see all of this. So this is the content I'd like to send out. Based on any schedule, you can select your own schedule. You guys know we can create our own schedule within Metric Insights. And then how do we want to send this burst out? Obviously, we can send it via email. In this case here, I would like to send it to Slack, so I'll select that. Just want to touch quickly on the ability for us to show you that we can send this to FTP or drives. The idea is to be able to push a particular file into a particular location. That file can be any types of file types here that we can push on. So FTP and drives, pretty much the same thing. Now, in our case, I'd like to push this particular burst to my Slack, and I'll select my particular Slack channel here. I call my demo Slack channel. That is that. And now, if I like the content that I want to send, I want this to be sent out on a particular schedule. Send this to my Slack channel, and that's it. That's pretty much all I have to do here. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you send it now.
Yeah.
Oh. So what we've actually developed is a bot, for want of a better word, that integrates with Slack. And so what's happening there when you install it is that it's syncing up with your particular Slack environment and your Slack teams. So the channels that you saw there in the Metric Insights environment are obviously coming from the channels that we have set up within our workspace here in Slack. And so on that schedule, what you start to get is when it sends out, you can see it coming in here actually, is it's taking the elements within that favorite folder, it's picking up the images of the elements within that favorites folder, and it's delivering it to the Slack channel that you selected within the burst. And for metrics, you'll see as well, we can pull in the actual values of those metrics, the last time they updated. So, you can sync up to your channels for different, depending on how your environment is set up. You may have channels for different departments, different areas, and you can sync up with that. Quick question here: can we send immediate alerts to Slack instead of email or SMS? Yes, you can. Well prompted on that one. We were just going to show that. So I'm actually going to trigger an alert here. So this is coming from a statistical alert here. So, it's just popped in at the bottom there. So, any of the alerts that you define within Metric Insights, you can also deliver it to Slack as well as email or mobile. And all these elements that you're looking at here that are being delivered, obviously there's the images, but they're also hyperlinked back to the underlying objects. So if I click on any of these, it will take me back into Metric Insights.
That's a great point, Mike, and it's kind of a neat way to be able to see your dashboard directly inside of Slack like this, as we're seeing this, or as Mike's mentioned, to go back directly to the elements itself. So, Mike, while we're here, why don't we take a look at different types of conversation we can have with the Slack bot and channel here. So, what you're noticing here, we have this Inside app and we have this particular channel here. So if we want to engage in any types of conversation, and I'm looking for as an example, we're always using this particular example here, but if I want to take a look at my Canada daily sales and see what's happening, the system goes against obviously our system and find that particular chart. Now, if this is the chart that I would like to see, that's perfect. I'd like to share it with my channel demo, and now there we go. It's been shared with my demo channels and that particular.
So just to explain what's going on here. So the Insights app is what gets installed. As you chat with that app, that's a personal thing that's going on. So I'm just seeing the results being delivered to me. And what's happening when Louis is typing here is we're doing some natural language processing against what's being typed in, to look for keywords, for phrases, for element names to match up what you have within the portal. And so in that first example, it found an exact match for what he typed in, so it's able to deliver that exact tile. The example he's going to show now is where we don't find an exact match, but we start to make suggestions based on the phrase that was typed in.
Absolutely. So in this case here, the one I was looking for is actually that ClickSense ClickView dashboard, ClickSense dashboard. This is exactly the one, so I can go ahead and share it with my, again, bring it and share it with my channel. So that's what can happen with the app. Like you said, a defined conversation where you know the element's name or not. And then, so we can get the elements this way. And then when you're within the channel as well, you can also have some conversation with the app itself, right? So I can go type at Insights, and then I can say, what do we have on website visit?
Again, what's happening here is as he types that, it's making suggestions personally. So you'll see the only visible to you tag at the top there. It's making suggestions to you within that channel. So only I can see this within the channel. I can preview the elements. If it's the one I want, I can then share it with the channel and they will see it.
Fantastic. And that's that. Well, it's already within the channel, so we'll have it there. And then and that's it. Then we can go ahead and preview and share these elements. So that's kind of a flavor of what we can do with Slack. And with Microsoft Teams, it's a very similar types of relationship that we have. So in this case here, taking a look at Microsoft Teams itself, if I want to go ahead and engage in any types of questions, again, I can type, let's do a different country now, Russia daily sales, and by typing this, system goes against the bot, finds some things. Okay, this is exactly the particular tile that I would like to see. So then I can go ahead and share it with my sales team here. So I like what I'm seeing. I want to share it with my sales team, and I will share it within the channel within this sales team, so my general channel. And in a second, there we go. Now it's appearing part of my team, and there we go. So now we're having this conversation where we're taking a look at this Russia things that I just shared a second ago.
So again, there's really, there's two goals with this. There's, if you're using collaboration tools like this in your organization, it's a valid channel that you want to be able to deliver content to from Metric Insights, either via bursts or alerts, as we looked at. But equally, if you're having, if users are having conversations and data is pertinent to those conversations, you don't want to have to come out the tool, go into your BI tool or even Metric Insights to find those answers. You can query directly from the tool. So the final thing we wanted to touch on was revisit some of the stuff that we've done recently in the portal. The concept of portal pages, which I think we introduced in the last webinar and continue to expand on the capabilities here, but the ability to provide a very curated page, if you like, of content, regardless of whether it came from. We've added in some additional capabilities you'll see around announcements and documents, which will become evident when we look at them. And then something that we've had in the portal actually for a while, but I'm not sure many customers are making use of it yet, around access request control for content, and we're going to touch on what that is and how that can be used. Time check, Louis. I think we have about 10 minutes to leave some time for questions.
Fantastic. So first thing I like to do, Mike, is to log on as a different user here. We have this guy, Bill. And what I like to show is just a couple of things that we can see that, so logging as this other particular user, as you guys know, we have the ability to do this. And the beauty here is that I'm now taking a look at a few things. So now I'm a new user. I am Bill Powers. A couple of things we wanted to show you. We didn't have that quite before. The ability to put an announcement for particular users or group of users. So you have, within the organization, you'll be servicing several different types of groups and groups of users, different types of messages that you want to put forwards for these users. So that's one thing that we added, part of the platform here for the messaging. Another thing that you'll notice as well is the ability to nightly organize the content or the different types of documents that you have. So in this example here, we have some case studies, white papers, videos, user's guide, and so on. And it's possible to create, a list of easy, document that can easily reachable from the document page here at this point.
And just to expand on documents, so can you click on that link again, Louis? So I think how's this being used? It's on the portal level, it's supplementing standard help stuff. So things like release notes and additional user guides and user material. These documents are also available on the element level. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Louis. Do you have an example where it's available on the element?
Possibly this particular. There we go. We have a document here. This particular here.
So if you do things like you have definitions of what a particular metric or report is, or release notes around the report that is being published, again you can link to that, and that can be anything. It can be a document. It can be a link out to you to a web page with that information on. So general announcements, general explanations, and then content-specific stuff as well.
And Mike, what if I want to have access to a particular tile, but I don't know if I have permission to see it? So in this example, the last example is we also have the ability to show you an easy way to do request access for a particular tile or document that your users may not have access to see.
And just to tee this up, so obviously, as you know, if you're using the platform, there's a whole security model around this, and the standard model, I guess, is users have access to certain pieces of content based on their permissions. As scenarios where users may want to search for content that they don't have access to, that you want to allow them to request access, and so that's what this is about. Is the ability to search for content and find stuff that you don't necessarily have access to today, but that you think would be interesting to you. And so by searching, you'll see there it brings back the tiles, but obviously the lock is saying that I don't have access to those tiles yet. By linking it to this request access, a number of things can happen. It can send an email to someone who's responsible for that particular tile. It can link through to a URL that perhaps is in another system, whatever makes sense in your environment. The idea is that you're starting to give people the ability to find content that isn't in their core set that you're making available to them.
Great, thank you, Mike. So now let's just go back to the home page of the application. That's my particular users who was demoing it. And I think finishing this off with the portal pages, again, introduced in the previous version, but still very powerful. So those portal pages, as Mike described them, are highly curated pages of information that are, where user comes in. We're looking at the management page right now. You have your highly aggregated information positioned for you here. In this case, looking at profit, sales, and so on. Want to have more information about a particular KPI, I can drill on this. It shows me the details that are attached to this big, this global tile here. Scrolling down, looking at 4 different types of dashboards coming from 4 different systems. We're talking about Tableau, Power BI, Cognos, and Business Object in one screen. Scrolling down here, even the ability to have our slideshow that is, showing you different KPIs at all times. So as Mike mentioned, we have several different pages, several different formats for these pages. Happy to have a conversation with you to discuss what makes sense and how we can build those pages for you. But The idea, again, is highly curated experience. A user comes in, can only get the information they want to have access to without doing anything else.
So they're the three areas that we wanted to cover. Let's go on one more. So again, overhaul our reporting, collaboration in tools like Slack and Teams, and continuing to invest in the portal pages to bring content together in an organized and curated fashion for your users. So there's a couple of outstanding questions that I want to get to, and if there are further questions, please type them into the chat there. So the first one is around security and access to, as it relates to Slack and Teams, and how that works. So the quick answer to that is that we basically persist the security that exists within the Metric Insights platform, which is essentially, which users have access to which tiles. So when I search privately within those tools, it's bringing me back the elements that I have access to. The channel then defines what content is available and shareable to that particular channel. So I can only share content into a channel if that channel has access to it, and then obviously you can control which users have access to that channel. So there's different ways you can set that up and map all that together, but the short answer is that we security is maintained when you go into the underlying tool. Looking here. So a question about release notes, pushing messages to users and groups in the release notes. I'll double check that it's in there, but I can see who's typing that message. We'll send you some links and some pointers to that. I don't know whether the help is actually linked in the release notes or not, but we will follow up with you on that one. Final question on reports and the ability to export them in different formats, Louis.
Yes, great question. So we do have the ability to export those reports into PDF, CSV, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on. So all the different export capabilities that we have within the products are available for those reports as well.
All right, last call for questions. Reminder, we'll follow up where we said. Reminder, this will be published up on our blog in the next day or so. We'll also fire you a quick email with that link. But if there's no more questions, thanks for joining us today. And I think that's it, Louis. I think we're good.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone.